My name is Jacob, and if I ever had any uncertainty about my place in my family, it vanished the day I discovered the will. It wasn't a grand orchestrated moment where my parents sat me down to reveal the truth. No, I stumbled upon it by pure chance, a stroke of bad fortune. A few months back, I was at their house, the same house I'd been helping them maintain for the past 5 years. The mortgage payments, the occasional grocery trips, even patching up things around the place, I was the one holding it all together while my brother Ethan contributed absolutely nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean zero. No job, no duties, just loafing around, expecting handouts, which my parents were more than willing to provide. That day, I was assisting my dad with some documents because, as usual, neither of them could be bothered to handle it themselves. He'd asked me to sort through a pile of legal and financial papers, and I didn't think much of it until I spotted it. A folder marked Estate Plan and Last Will tucked among the stack. I'm not one to pry, but something urged me to look. After all, I'd been the one ensuring they had a home to live in. It didn't seem unreasonable to check what they'd planned for the future. So I opened it. And that's when my heart sank. Everything, every single thing was left to Ethan. The house, their savings, their possessions. Not a single mention of me except for some vague statement about loving both their sons equally. Sure, equally. That's why they ensured their favored son would get it all while the one keeping them afloat was barely acknowledged. I felt like an idiot. Here I was, going above and beyond for them, ensuring their bills were paid, making sure they never worried about necessities, while they quietly arranged a future where I got nothing. And Ethan? He wasn't just idle. He was arrogant. He never helped them, never pitched in a cent, yet he'd somehow convinced them he deserved everything. Maybe because he was the younger son. Maybe because they always coddled him. Maybe because he knew how to play them. Whatever the reason, they'd made their decision. I sat there, staring at the document, my hands trembling with a mix of anger and betrayal. How long had they been planning this? Had they always seen me as their financial crutch with no reward? Did they even value what I'd done for them? I don't know how long I sat there, but eventually my dad noticed I wasn't sorting papers. "Jacob, what's the holdup?" he asked, strolling back into the room. I didn't bother hiding the will. I held it up and met his gaze. "So, this is how it is?" I said, my voice eerily steady. "Everything to Ethan? After all I've done for you?" My dad's face paled briefly, but then he sighed like I was a child overreacting. "Jacob, it's not like that." "Really?" I snapped. "Because it seems pretty obvious to me. I've been covering your mortgage, buying groceries, fixing the house while Ethan does nothing, and you still decided he's the only one who matters." Dad shifted uncomfortably, but offered no real explanation, just mumbled, "It's not that simple." That was it. No apology. No effort to clarify beyond those hollow words. Just a weak dodge and a look like he expected me to let it go and resume being their cash machine. I should have left right then, but I needed to hear it from both of them. So I called for my mom. When she entered and saw the will in my hands, her reaction wasn't much better. She looked guilty at least, but her words made my blood boil. "Jacob, sweetheart, you don't need an inheritance," she said softly, like she was sparing me. "You have a steady job. You're self-sufficient. Ethan, well, he struggles. We just want to ensure he's okay." That was the moment something in me broke. They weren't even pretending otherwise. They knew what they were doing, and in their minds, it was perfectly reasonable. They'd spent years enabling Ethan's laziness, and now they were rewarding it by giving him everything while I was cast aside like an afterthought. I took a deep breath, gritted my teeth, and placed the will on the table. "Understood," I said, my voice unnervingly calm. "Good to know where I stand." Then I turned and left, ignoring their protests as I shut the door behind me. They'd made their choice. Now it was my turn to make mine. I didn't return to their house after that. I didn't call. I didn't check on them. For the first time in years, I let them deal with their own problems. If something needed fixing, they could figure it out. If they needed groceries, they could get to the store themselves. And most importantly, If the mortgage bill arrived, I wasn't paying it anymore. The silence lasted about 2 weeks. At first, I think they thought I was just sulking and would come back as usual. Maybe they expected me to calm down and apologize for daring to challenge their decision. But as the days passed with no word from me and no money, their tone shifted. Then one afternoon, my phone pinged. Dad texted, "Property taxes are due." That was it. No, "How are you?" No, "Sorry for what happened." No, "We appreciate all you've done." Just a blunt demand, like I was still their personal bank. I stared at the message, almost amused by their predictability. They really thought they could demand cash like nothing had happened, that I'd keep being their financial lifeline after they made it clear I was expendable. I typed back calmly, "I'm sure Ethan can cover it, since the house is his." It took 5 minutes for my mom to call. I let it ring. Then another text came through. "Mom, Jacob, please don't act like this. We need to discuss this." Oh, now they wanted to talk? Now that their bills were piling up and reality was hitting them? I waited an hour before replying. "Nothing to discuss. You made your choice. Live with it." I thought that would end it for the day. I'd been crystal clear, and I felt no guilt. But then Ethan decided to jump in. His text arrived late that evening, and the moment I saw his name, I knew it'd be infuriating. Sure enough, it was pure entitlement. "Ethan, bro, why are you being so dramatic? It's not a big deal. Just help them out like always." I nearly laughed. Not a big deal? He was acting like I had no reason to be upset. I typed back, "Nah, you've got it handled, since you're the favorite." "Ethan, OMG, are you seriously mad about the will? Grow up. It's just money." Oh, now it was just money. Now that it was his to inherit, it didn't matter? The hypocrisy was staggering. I shot back, "Then you won't mind using some of that money to pay the mortgage, right?" Silence. A few minutes later, Mom texted again, this time in full guilt trip mode. "Mom, Jacob, we're your parents. Family supports each other. We did so much for you growing up and now you're abandoning us." I had to breathe deeply to keep from hurling my phone. Abandoning them? I'd spent years ensuring they never struggled, while they indulged Ethan and rewarded his idleness. And now that they faced the consequences, I was the villain? I wasn't buying it. Not this time. I replied, "You made it clear I wasn't family when you left me out of the will. Let Ethan take care of you." I could picture Mom clutching her chest dramatically. She always played the victim, even when she was wrong. Minutes later, Dad texted again, and this one had me fuming. Dad, "We're not asking for much, just enough to cover the mortgage for a few months until we sort things out. Don't be ungrateful." Ungrateful? The word made my blood boil. I'd been bailing them out for years, sacrificing my own savings, time, and energy to ease their lives. I'd done everything a dutiful son should. And how did they repay me? By ensuring I got nothing. And now, when I was finally standing up for myself, I was ungrateful? I gritted my teeth, took a deep breath, and typed back, "No, I'm done." Then I turned off my phone. They'd made their choice. Now they'd face the consequences. The silence lasted a day. I knew they wouldn't give up easily, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. The next morning, I woke to a notification, a bank transfer request. I frowned, checking my phone. It was from Mom. She'd sent a request for money like I was an ATM. The amount? $3,500. I stared in disbelief, half laughing at their nerve. No message, no explanation. Just a bold, shameless demand for the exact amount to cover their overdue mortgage. They weren't even asking anymore. They assumed I'd cave. I declined it instantly. 5 minutes later, Mom called. I let it ring. Then another text. Mom, Jacob, I know you saw the request. Why did you decline it? I took my time replying. Because it's not my problem. Ask Ethan. Another call, declined, then another text. Mom, we'll lose the house if you don't help. Oh, now it was a crisis. After years of treating me like a cash machine, they were finally facing consequences? I typed back, maybe you should have thought about that before deciding I didn't matter. Seconds later, Dad texted. Dad, you're really going to let your parents end up homeless? I laughed out loud. The manipulation was so obvious it was almost comical. They weren't destitute. They weren't on the streets. They just didn't want to touch their savings because they were used to me covering everything. I ignored them for the rest of the day. That night, Ethan texted, Dude, just send the money. You're blowing this out of proportion. I clenched my jaw. This entitled jerk thought he could lecture me? I typed back. You mean the money you're inheriting? Why don't you send it? His reply was quick. Ethan, you know I don't have that kind of cash. Oh, so now it was about affordability. He was fine with me emptying my accounts, but when it was his turn, he had nothing. I replied, Guess you better figure it out, bro. You're the one they picked. No response. I went to bed feeling strangely calm, like I'd finally broken free from years of manipulation. But the next day, things got worse. I was at work when my apartment's front desk called. Hey, Jacob, your parents are here? I nearly dropped my phone. What? She hesitated. They're saying it's urgent and you're not answering. Unbelievable. They showed up at my apartment because I stopped paying their bills. I took a deep breath, pinching my nose. Don't let them up. I'm not expecting them. An awkward pause. They're being pretty insistent. I gritted my teeth. I don't care. They can leave. I hung up and got a text from Mom. We're downstairs. Let us in. No question. No explanation. Just another demand. I didn't reply. Another text from Mom. Jacob, we're not leaving until you talk. I exhaled sharply, getting up from my desk. They weren't backing down. Fine. I was about to give them a lesson they'd never forget. I grabbed my keys and stormed downstairs, my blood boiling. I wasn't scared. I was livid. The audacity of these people to show up at my home, uninvited, demanding money like I was their ATM. No call first, no half-hearted apology, just an ambush. They thought they could bully me into submission like I was some naive kid. I opened the door. There they were, Mom, Dad, and of course Ethan, standing in a tight group like they were staging an intervention. Mom had her arms crossed, her classic disappointed look ready to go. Dad stood rigid, hands in pockets, his face a mix of irritation and entitlement, like he couldn't believe I was making him do this in person. And Ethan? The leech looked bored, like this was just a minor inconvenience, like he wasn't the cause of this mess. Mom saw me and went full drama mode. Jacob, finally. We need to talk. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Number, you need to leave. She blinked, like she couldn't process my words. Excuse me? You heard me? I said, my voice steady but firm. You don't get to show up at my apartment demanding money. That's insane. Dad scoffed sharply. You're really going to let us lose the house over a petty fight? I let out a bitter laugh. Petty fight? You mean the one where you decided I was good enough to pay your bills but not good enough to be in your will? That fight. Mom gasped, clutching her chest like I'd struck her. Jacob, that's not fair. We did what we thought was best for the family. I tilted my head. Best for the family? You mean best for Ethan? Just admit it. Silence. A long, heavy silence. Ethan, who'd been oddly quiet, finally spoke. Look, man, I don't even want to be here. I didn't ask for anything. I turned to him, letting loose. No, you just take everything you're given. You're 28, Ethan. Get a job. His face flushed. What the hell, dude? I stepped closer. You heard me. You want to inherit the house? Act like an owner? You want to be the golden child? Start paying their bills? I'm done being your bank. Ethan looked away, suddenly fascinated by the ground. Mom took a deep breath, shifting to guilt mode. Jacob, he's your brother, I nodded. Yeah, and I've supported him longer than you have. Dad's face hardened. You're being selfish. I laughed. A real, genuine laugh. That's rich coming from you. I gestured between them. You decided Ethan deserved everything and I deserved nothing. Now that it's time to face the consequences, you're trying to guilt me into fixing it. Not happening. Mom's voice sharpened. We thought you'd be mature about this. I raised an eyebrow. Mature? You mean quietly accept being betrayed and keep paying your bills? Because that's what you wanted. Dad stepped forward, trying to intimidate me like when I was a kid. Jacob, we raised you. We fed you, clothed you, gave you everything. The least you can do is help us now. I met his gaze. I already did, for years. And you repaid me by cutting me out. Mom's lip quivered. We thought you'd understand. I exhaled, shaking my head. Oh, I understand perfectly. I was never family to you, just a paycheck. Silence again. A thick, undeniable silence. I turned to Ethan, who was still avoiding eye contact. And you? What's your excuse? You had years to grow up, to contribute, but you didn't. Because you knew they'd bail you out. And when they're gone, you expected me to step in, right? Ethan snapped. What do you want me to say? I didn't ask for this. I nodded slowly. Right. You didn't ask. You just took. His mouth opened, then closed. Nothing. He had nothing. Mom tried one last guilt trip. Jacob, we're family. Family supports each other. I stared at her for a long moment before replying, Exactly. So why didn't you support me? She froze. No words, no comeback, nothing. I let out a slow breath, feeling lighter than I had in years. We're done here. I turned and walked back inside, closing the door. Before I reached my couch, my phone pinged. A new text from Dad. Wow. After all we've done for you, you're really going to abandon us? I smirked, typing back. No, you abandoned me. I'm just accepting it. I hit send. Then I blocked their numbers, but I had no idea that blocking them would only make things worse. It didn't take long for things to spiral. Less than a day after I blocked them, I started seeing posts on social media. My parents weren't tech experts, but they knew how to vent online when they felt justified. At first, I thought it was just their usual drama. They loved airing family issues publicly. But as I scrolled through their profiles, I realized this wasn't just about me refusing to pay bills. Their posts were cloaked as family devotion, but were clear attacks on me. Mom posted about how she didn't raise her son to be so heartless, and how real family helps no matter what. Her friends commented, calling me a letdown and out of touch with family values. Then Dad joined in with his own post. So-called family shouldn't turn their backs when you need them most. We gave everything to our kids, and this is how we're repaid. My son, who should be supporting us in our later years, has chosen to forsake us. He tagged me, adding a snide, "Hope you're proud," at the end. But Ethan's post was the worst. I should have known he'd jump into the drama. He shared a post dripping with lies. Some people think family is just about cash. They don't get that it's about love and sacrifice. I'd do anything for my parents, but some people are too self-absorbed to see that. True love means helping those who raised you. He even added a veiled dig at me. I wish some people understood what family really means. I love my parents and am grateful for all they've done. That was it. That was my limit. I stared at the screen in disbelief. How had it come to this? They'd twisted everything, painting me as the selfish son who refused to support his devoted parents, the son who didn't value their love. How dare they? I'd always been the one who worked hard, who contributed, who never complained. And now they'd convinced themselves they were right, telling everyone I was the problem. I didn't want to react rashly. I stepped back, gathered my thoughts, and waited a few hours. I wanted to avoid acting out of anger, but the more I thought, the more I knew I couldn't let this slide. If they were going to drag my name through the dirt, I'd set the record straight, so I grabbed my phone and started typing. I opened my social media account, the one I used for close friends and real family, and posted a long update. I wasn't here to play their game. I didn't want petty arguments. I wanted the truth out there. Here's what I wrote. I've been silent lately, but I can't stay quiet anymore. My family has been spreading lies about me online, painting me as the selfish one who won't help my parents in their time of need. I'm here to tell the truth. I've always supported my family. Since I started working, I've been the one paying bills, buying groceries, and keeping things together. But there's a limit to how much you can give without respect. For years, I've watched my parents favor Ethan, giving him the house, the money, the attention. Meanwhile, I was expected to keep giving, never treated as equal. Some of you might think, that's just family. But family should be mutual. When I learned my parents left everything to Ethan in their will, I saw how one-sided this was. They didn't even consider me. They've made it clear I'm just the one they rely on in tough times, not someone they value unless it suits them. I've funded their lifestyle for years. Vacations, bills, even property taxes. And for what? To be treated like a fallback? I'm done. I'm not a wallet they can tap whenever they want. I'm a person and I deserve respect. I've earned the right to be valued, not just used. As for Ethan, it's time he steps up. He's 28 and has never worked. He's never taken responsibility. My parents have enabled him so long, it's no surprise he's their favorite. But he's had enough time to grow up. To everyone following this drama and siding with my parents, know there are two sides to every story. Yes, family matters, but it's about mutual respect. I've given enough, and I'm not sorry for stepping back. This isn't me abandoning family. This is me choosing myself. To my parents, I wish you well, but I'm done being your doormat. I hit post, and relief washed over me. For the first time, I was telling the world the truth about my family, how they'd used me for years, how they expected me to save them without caring about my needs. I was done letting their story control me. The responses were immediate. People I hadn't spoken to in years showed support. Cousins, friends of my parents, even distant relatives liked the post, sending private messages apologizing for what I'd endured. It felt liberating to have the truth out, free from guilt and manipulation. But then came the backlash. My parents and Ethan lost it. Ethan messaged me. "You're a traitor. You had to air our business like this? You have no family loyalty." Dad called, shouting, "You've ruined everything, Jacob. You'll regret this. You'll regret cutting us off. You'll regret betraying your family." But I didn't regret it. Not for a moment. I blocked them all. I was done. And for the first time, I was free. Free from the toxic hold they'd had on me for so long. As days passed, the weight lifted. I was done being treated as less. I was done fixing their problems. And now, I could live my life on my terms. So, no, I don't feel bad for cutting them off. I deserved better. I still do. And from now on, I'm choosing to be around people who value me for me, not what I can offer. It's time to move forward. For good. And I will. Share your thoughts in the comments below.